Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be reviewing / testing out the new Dior Backstage Collection. So I have two items from the collection that I think are the most popular items and ones that I really wanted to try out. So I'll be trying out the foundation and also the highlighting palette from this collection. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe down below, and let's get into the video. So this collection kind of recently launched, and I kind of had my eye on it, especially the highlighting palette. So today I'm going to be testing out the foundation and also the highlighting palette. So first, of course, I'm going to start out with the foundation. So I want to talk a little bit about it. So it is called the Backstage Face and Body Foundation. I'm putting a picture up on the screen because I only got a sample of it from Sephora. Most of the time with my foundations, I don't buy them. I sample them first. I mean, obviously if it's a drugstore, I'm not even sure if you can really sample drugstore at Ulta, but at Sephora you can sample any foundation. So I always sample something before I buy it, even though you can return products to Sephora after using them. It's just personal preference. I'd rather just sample something before purchasing it. So I do only have a sample of this foundation. It's this big, that's why I just put the picture up on the screen so you can see kind of what the foundation looks like. So this foundation comes in 40 shades, which is awesome. It's $40, and I will read a little bit about it. So on the Sephora website, it says it's medium coverage with a matte finish, and it says a foundation for the face and body with a natural matte finish and medium buildable coverage that's waterproof and sweat resistant. So off the bat, that sounds really great to me. I like a matte finish. I do really like medium and full coverage foundations, but if I can build it up, that's fine too. I'm first just going to prime my face, and I just want to give this foundation a fair chance. So I'm going to prime using the Benefit Professional Primer. I usually always use either this primer or the Makeup Forever mattifying primer, and I'm just putting this in my T-zone. So next for the foundation, I got matched to the shade 1 Warm. So that's what I'll be using today. So I have this little sample here, and I'm just gonna kind of stick my brush in there and put it on my face. So let's start kind of dotting it. So far, I can definitely tell this foundation is medium coverage. I do have some like freckles around here, and they're definitely not being covered up a lot, which I don't mind. I don't care if my freckles are really covered or not, but that does show that it's not full coverage. Just dotting a little bit more in areas where I need it. So far the coverage is pretty good. I'd say if you do have any redness or acne, you probably do have to go over with another layer of foundation, but it did cover up pretty well. I do have redness on my cheeks and kind of like around my nose in these areas, and it did cover that up pretty well. I did have to go over it like with another layer, but I don't mind doing that. The finish is really pretty. It's not like super matte, but it said on the website that it was a natural matte finish, which is exactly what it looks like. I think since it is a natural matte finish, it can kind of work with different skin types, not just oily skin types. But so far I think it looks really good and looks really pretty. I'm gonna continue with kind of my regular foundation routine and just see how the foundation works with concealer and powder. I'm using this Makeup Revolution concealer, and I'm just going to apply a little bit. Okay, so concealer is lying pretty well on top of that foundation. So now I'm going to go in with powder, and I'm going to use the Coty Airspun powder. Okay, so with concealer and powder and everything, I'd say the foundation is looking really, really good. I'm going to zoom you in just a little bit so you can see it a little bit closer up. Oh, my skin just looks very smooth, very airbrushed, and it is a matte finish, but it feels very comfortable. It's not like super, super mattifying. For example, the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte Foundation is like very extremely matte, and that's not the case with this one. It looks matte, but it feels comfortable on my face. My face doesn't feel super dried out, which I really like. But yeah, so far this just looks really, really good. Next we have the highlighting palette, which is what I'm most excited for. Well, this is called the Backstage Glow Face Palette, and it retails for $45. So on the Sephora website, it says it is a face palette with 2 luminous blush shades and 2 radiant highlighters for a customizable backstage glow. And here are swatches of all 4 shades. Okay, so with this palette, I am going to use kind of the 2 top shades to highlight, and I want to try this as a blush. I was thinking of bronzing with this shade, but I think it might be a little too deep on me. I don't know, I'm a little nervous to go in with it, but I might try a little bit of it just to kind of see what it looks like on my skin tone. On the website, it does say this is a blush shade, but it would be too deep for me to use it as a blush. Slightly dip into it. I don't know how I would like this as a bronzer. Someone who might have drier skin or might like highlighting, certain areas may like to use this shade as a bronzer more than I would. I don't know. See, like, it just looks kind of shiny and strange. So I don't really like how that looks, so I'm just gonna I'm not gonna do any more on my face. So next we're just gonna go in with this pinky blush shade. And you could probably use this also as a highlight. You want a more pinky toned highlight, but it says blush, so again, not exactly sure I'm gonna like this as a blush. I don't know if it's gonna be too shiny on my cheeks. Oh. Okay, that's really pretty, but I could definitely use that as a highlighter because it's pretty shimmery, so I'm not gonna put on too much. And it definitely doesn't give as much color as a regular blush would. It's more just like I'd almost call it a like blush topper instead of just a blush. If you really want to like intensify and make your blush more shimmery, then I would definitely put some of this on top. But yeah, I think I would like this shade a lot better as a highlighter rather than a blush. So now on to the best part. I'm thinking I'm just gonna make a little concoction. I might mix these top ones here and then maybe add in a little bit of this pink, just to see what it looks like. And I like that you can kind of mix and match colors with this palette. If you want a more golden tone highlight, you could do that. If you want a more pink tone highlight, you could also do that. I think I have a lot on my brush, so let's just get into highlight. Ooh. I also think mixing all those shades is just gonna really intensify the highlight, which obviously it's pretty intense. The texture of these when I was swatching them is like very creamy, very smooth. The texture really isn't super powdery, it's more buttery. This is such a pretty highlighter. I was a little like nervous spending $45 on a highlighting palette because that's a lot of money, but I am pleasantly surprised. And I also like that, say if you just use the gold or the pink or the bronze to highlight the face, then you could also add the white, or if you did use the bronze and you really want to intensify it a little bit more, you could use the gold shade on top. So I do like the versatility of this palette. I'm gonna highlight my nose and my cupid's bow, and I'm gonna take a little bit of the white and the gold. Also gonna add a little bit under the brow bone. Okay, so I'm going to finish the rest of my makeup and then I will give you my final thoughts. Okay, so I finished the rest of my makeup and I actually filmed another video and I kind of just been hanging out around my house for, I'd say, around like 2 hours now. So I know I didn't do like a full-on wear test with this foundation, but I have been sweating because my house is so hot and my parents don't like to put the air on, even though it's 75 degrees out. So yeah, I'm really hot right now. I have my fan like on blast because I'm sweating. But I will say, for the time I've been wearing this, and just like right off the bat, this foundation looks so beautiful, so pretty. It's mattifying enough to where I don't feel like my makeup will slip off, and it hasn't slipped off, but it's comfortable and it doesn't feel like super drying. It's not cakey at all. It just looks super, super good on my skin. And I'm a pretty oily person, so I'd say this foundation could definitely work for someone who has very oily skin. But I also think it could work for someone who has dry skin. Now, if you are very dry or you just really like hydrating foundations, you might not like this one. But if you do like the matte finish on your face, then you honestly might really like this foundation. So although it is matte, it's a very comfortable matte. I'd say it's a very semi-matte finish. It looks very good and like very natural, but it's going to make your face look flawless and airbrushed. A nice natural finish, but it's going to help keep your pores looking really good, really small, and it's going to prevent oils from coming through because it is a matte finish. It's just not a like super intense matte foundation. Let's say if you're on the more extremely oily side, use one of your favorite like mattifying primers and the foundation should still work for you. And same for someone who has very dry skin. If you use a nice hydrating primer, hydrating moisturizer under the foundation, then this foundation will probably work for you. Now on to the highlighting palette. Obviously, you could tell I loved this palette. I think it was so beautiful. Super glowy, almost like a wet finish. Just looks really, really pretty. If you were into highlights kind of like this, where they're very glowy, very radiant, then you will definitely love this palette. I was skeptical because it is pretty pricey, but I mean, it is Dior. Dior is just a pretty pricey brand, but for being $45, it performed so well. It definitely exceeded my expectations. I think it is very versatile with all of these colors. You can kind of create your own custom highlighter, and you could use this for other things as well. Blush, bronzer, even eyeshadow. I personally didn't like this as a bronzer because it was just too shimmery for my liking, but that's just being oily. I don't really like shimmery bronzer. If you do like a more shimmery bronzer, then you might really like using that shade. So I think if you are willing to spend that money, then you should definitely go out and grab this palette. So that is it for my review on the Dior Backstage foundation and highlighting palette. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.